Hey guys, welcome to FPG. Today we are back with another one of the Chaos Gods. After Papa Nurgle as well as Slaanesh, today we got a third one of the Chaos Gods. My personal Lord Voldemort, because I can't say his damn name for shit. First I called him Tech. Later, after hearing his name for the first time, I started calling him Singed, which is obviously a champion from League of Legends, so that is obviously wrong. So today I hope I will learn a lot about him, as well as maybe get his damn name into my head. So without further ado, let's get right into it, shall we? Here we go. Ooh, spooky.
Almighty Sigma, savior of the Empire.
Oh, I remember that
Give
scene.
me strength.
It was in the Warhammer, Total Warhammer trailers. Yeah.
It feeds. It grows, devouring all.
It was the book that corrupted him, I guess.
In the furthest north, way further from the borders of Kislev, past the rugged troll country and
I like how I start to recognize names of, nations, lands, whatever. I start to recognize stuff, and that makes me really happy because, that means I start to dig stuff, I start to get stuff into my head deeper and deeper, and that's really, really nice. And I think that guy that we saw at first, he was a servant of him. I'm not really sure, but I think he got cursed or something. So he wanted to get rid of that in Total War Warhammer 3, if I'm correct. I'm not 100% on that, but I think that was the story.
no man's land. Beyond the boundaries of sanity and the laws of nature
I like their maps.
stands the wrecked gateway of the old ones.
The maps are very
oozing
detailed.
with darkness and spewing forth
And old school with all
mutating
those
energy,
drawings.
the raw stuff of chaos. It is a bleeding wound,
Ooh.
a tear in the fabric of reality,
Monolith of flesh.
a gateway to another dimension. The shattered gate appears as a great ring circled by stone machineries, dwarfing the mountains around it. It is covered in runes of unimaginable potency that glow in the
sounds
darkness, their
scary.
dancing shapes altering reality. From the dark reaches of the
Chaos
gateway pours out the winds of magic and mutated clouds of warped stone dust. The Realm of Chaos is a home to many terrible entities of cosmic power.
Papa
It is
Nurgle,
a
we love him.
hellish realm
We love him
where
here.
demons roam, servants of entropy and
the
the
birdie
long
boys.
night. These creatures consist of thought alone, and these thoughts are truly terrible.
Yes.
Only fools claim to understand chaos, for by definition, chaos is
I'm a fool.
inhuman and
I love 'em.
incomprehensible. Mortal sages and mystics who dare ponder the nature of chaos are driven mad, or else succeed
That's-
only in attracting
Chaos
the
is
attentions of the
relatable, you
fell
know?
creatures of chaos. Many wise men have been carried alive and screaming to the charnel houses of the realm.
The rough gate. When you see that as a Warcraft fan, you're reminded of good old times. Back then, the game was actually good. Always makes you sad to read those kind of things, no? Yeah,
Of chaos,
not good.
there to writhe in eternal debate with the demons
rough
of
gate.
torment. Of those who do not heed the warnings, some have claimed that
That
the
looks like
chaos,
Slaanesh
in its eternal
demon.
diversity, have spawned an infinite number of gods, each the collective mirror of one of the many survivalist emotions projected by intelligent beings in the mortal plane.
Really?
Others say that all the apparent different gods are no more than aspects of one supreme being, the great unnameable one, the abomination.
Makes sense because I can't say his name, Yeah, he is really, really unnameable. That might be the most right I ever been. Really
The
unnameable.
eternal destroyer, the unspeakable beast, the chaos undivided.
Oh, It's not him. It's a chaos.
However,
Got
the
it.
true
an
nature of
idiot.
chaos is beyond any comprehension.
Never
No
mind.
mortal man can hope to understand these matters, and the wise do not puzzle too.
I still don't really get the concept of Chaos Undivided. Some people put, yeah, that's Chaos Undivided, but you know what I learned from the other videos and stuff like that, they're always rivaling each other. So is there just a faction in it that is Chaos Undivided, or is it something more? Is it something that got, you know, handily crafted for the convenience of the players so they can play all of them at once? Or is there a really, really deep lore reason for it? Because if they're rivaling each other, you know, yes, they could join forces sometimes when it is very convenient for them. But other than that, you know, if they're rivals, even in the realms, they all want to extend their realms and they rival each other. It doesn't make totally sense to me. I don't really know exactly what is behind Chaos Undivided. I can't put my finger on it.
Deeply into the nature of the Chaos Gods, or try to fathom their eternal wars, epic rivalries, and ever-shifting bickering.
Papa's
The
realm.
days of the final war against the primal enemy are here. The end is coming, and the shadow cast by the growing power of the North comes
Sure.
to us. We can only hope for our survival. Sigma, preserve us and deliver us as we go into the realm of
Sigma?
chaos and explore the first
Don't
of
make
the
it these
4
nuts, Joe.
chaos gods that reign in the eternal darkness. The
Oh, that's the
changer of
symbol.
ways, the great deceiver,
Who name?
he who controls the fate of the universe, the Lord of Change, TZEENTCH. These
See?
names represent a being of
TZEENTCH. It still makes sense that after hearing his name, after a while, you know, I switched again and I called him Singed. It's close. You know, TZEENTCH, Singed, it makes sense. I'm still really bad with names, I know, but it's kinda close. TZEENTCH. Man, I really hope that gets stuck in my head, but you know, stuff like Nurgle is way more, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's easier, a lot easier.
pure entropy. He is the sorcerer of chaos, and his circle of influence
Oh, it's
is
a legendary
change,
lord.
the mutable time
about him?
stream and fate itself. His many followers infiltrate the human societies, forever plotting, biding
6
their time, waiting
eyes.
for a moment to rise up against law, order, or any stabilized rule. Even though no two depictions of TZEENTCH are identical, the Chaos God of Change has been described as a giant whose puckered face is conjoined with his torso. His skin writhes with leering,
done.
abhorrent faces in a state of constant change. Above his
Okay.
eyes are 2 spiraled horns, each alight with arcane fire. TZEENTCH rejoices in using his guile and cunning to
Pretty impressive
manipulate his
form.
enemies and supplicants to influence the future and their fates. Although TZEENTCH resides
Wasn't he also the seeker of knowledge and stuff like that? Because I thought I once, you know, set him for me to categorize like Hermaeus Mora from the Elder Scrolls. Yes, exactly. I thought that aspect was pretty cool, actually.
within the realm of chaos, his attention is focused predominantly on the
Nice
mortal
smile.
world. The contradictions, hypocrisy, and
Plotting,
deceit
scheming, and
scarring the
knowledge.
souls of mortals acts as a lure to the changer of ways.
Knowledge
In
is
some
power.
cases, he uses his mortal pawns in the great game against the other ruinous powers. However, he is mostly interested in satisfying his primal desire to control and twist the fates of every being as they become embroiled
puppet
in his
master.
incomprehensible and infinite schemes.
I like that.
Tzeentch is the changer of ways. He is the supreme master of magic and subtlety. Tzeentch's plots are infinitely complex and interwoven, and he is the principal architect of the secret alliances and wars between his brother gods of chaos and the simpler and mortal men alike.
I think he was also the one most assigned to Lovecraftian style and stuff like this, so... You know, it's all going in this niche. It's pretty badass and not very different from the other Chaos Gods so far, but I would say, you know, there's always, if you see gods, or evil gods, Chaos Gods, whatever, in some kind of fantasy, there's always the one, you know, scheming, plotting. He's usually often described as the weakest, physically at least, you know, or in military might. But he often outperforms his brethren because of his scheming talent, playing them against each other, you know, seeing the numbers dwindle while he just sits there and waits for his time to strike. It's always a great, you know, arc, it's a great plot, and I enjoy it a lot usually.
Tzeentch is the chaos god that reigned supreme over the other ruinous powers during the first incursion of the mortal realm. The first great incursion of chaos occurred after the polar gates created by the Old Ones to separate the old world from the realm of chaos failed, unleashing a great calamity on the world that was known as the Great Catastrophe. The sweeping black winds, heavy with magic, twisted everything it touched, corrupting nature itself and transforming what was into new and tainted stuff. It was in this time of mutation and change that Tzeentch wielded powers greater than the other gods of chaos. The imbalance of power led Khorne, Nurgle and Slaanesh to plot against the Lord of Change, which culminated in Tzeentch being thrown.
They're plotting and scheming against the Master Schemer, you know, that's actually quite ironic. I like that. That's nice. It's a nice touch.
From his perch within the endless mountains. The resulting impact shattered his body, scattering his life essence into 10,000 magical incantations, which still surge through the world upon the winds of magic each time their incantation is spoken. Even with Tzeentch's power being scattered, he still remains as one of the most prevalent chaos gods in terms of worship, as it is through him that mutation, transformation, blessings, ascensions, and death are wrought. Two creatures have been given the task of collecting the scattered incantations of Tzeentch's form, the Blue Scribes, Ptahryx, and Zeratum. The completion of their task would bring about the reunification of Tzeentch's sundered power and his form. These brothers were granted more intelligence and self-awareness than typically bestowed upon the Deceiver's abominations, making Tzeentch fear the possibility of betrayal. As a safeguard, Tzeentch made the pair diametrically opposed to their charge.
I was just, you know, thinking that because they have such an important task, they would be granted the most power. But because he is the great schemer, the great puppet master, of course he thinks of betrayal and stuff like that. That is super interesting played out. And then he gives them a duality kind of spec, so they hold each other in line. They don't, you know, plot against him, because they can't find one singular thing to completely agree upon or plan to. That's so smart. That's really well made. Wow.
Ptahryx can transcribe the incantation of any spell using a pin feather from a Lord of Change, yet he has been denied the ability to read. Zeratum can read the scrawlings of his brother, but cannot understand their meaning. So
insane.
they exist, unleashing the
Smart.
devastation of their spell upon whichever realm is unfortunate enough to harbor their existence. Sadly, or unfortunately, their mission can never be completed after the mortals meddling with magic multiply the existing incantations to an insurmountable degree. So their mission keeps extending forever.
So he can never be won again. Oh.
The source of all magic is the Bright Realm, whose heirs form the substance of change, and which is known to the wise by the name of Chaos.
Is there, Slanesh? Not Slanesh. God damn it. I already did it again. Is there one big fragment of him? Is there, the main fragment kinda, still commanding his realm in a way? Or are there not enough pieces together and it's, still everywhere, millions, thousands of fragments, Or is there, one big fragment basically still leading the charge? It is weird to think about that. Maybe he tells us, maybe.
All life lies balanced between the order of timeless idealized forms and the chaos of endless change. Order and chaos in equal measure and strength. Few understand this.
That looks freaky.
For most men are flawed by ambition, desire, and their vanity, so that their souls are blind to what is purest and noble. So it is that many are drawn to the vice of wizardry. These fools scoff at danger, mistaking the wisdom of the aged for fear, the wise prudence for the coward's terror.
Oh.
As the dread rune of chaos has 8 arrows, so 8 winds of magic flow from chaos into the lands of time, and hence through the minds of men. Upon each wind, demons ride into the world. Their whispering is the noise of the wind, and their laughter rattles at our doors. From the 8 winds of magic, the sorcerers of the mortal realms distill their spells, calling upon the aid of demons and their minions as they travel upon the winds of magic. Thus, in centuries past grew the great traditions of sorcery, which are still practiced to this day, for good or ill.
His story strikes me as the most complex, the most weird as well. It is very weird, very strange, very unusual, and very complex, especially interwoven with magic itself. It makes it all very complex and not too easy to understand, The others, pretty, not really see-through, but you can see their goals a lot easier. Here it is all very interwoven, very, very weird, very bizarre, very confusing, but that adds to this character again. I don't know if it's fully intentional. I, for most of the time, think it's intentional, and I hope it's intentional because it adds to the character. It is an interesting element. So yeah, I think he's pretty wild. He's maybe not my favorite, because, man, I love Nurgle. I like him a lot. But he seems super interesting, and maybe, I don't know, I don't want to say it, but he could be a community favorite. I'm not sure of that, but I think he is kind of like a hidden gem, Yeah, that is what I would say. Maybe not so hidden at all.
In the realm of chaos, time has no meaning, and the events of the past, the present, and the future all melt into one chaotic existence. Some debate that this is not one dimension, but many, An infinite number of alternative worlds where everything is possible and every variation of human history is played out as decreed in the beginning of time. Deep inside the realm of chaos, a place that is already incomprehensible by nature, lies the crystal labyrinth of the Lord of Change.
That is so wild, because a lot of places, before you saw the spiral with the big stream in the air and stuff like that. It all, again, you see Blizzard maybe taking a bit too much inspiration here. Because in World of Warcraft itself, there's a thing called the Nexus, which is connected to the aspect of magic as well. And it's basically, the thing basically looks the same. They are flying crystal path basically wrapped up into the air with a blue giant magic stream up in the air. That looks like a lot like the dungeon. Was it the Oculus? I'm not 100% sure if it was the Oculus, but there's a dungeon with basically the same stuff on the floor, also crystals, eyes, stuff like that everywhere. It looks very, very close to this. And, most people know that they are big fans at Blizzard, that they love the Warhammer stuff a lot. So I'm not really that surprised, but it is pretty interesting after playing those kind of games, especially World of Warcraft for like 15, 16 years, to see stuff you saw a long time in the game all again. Very much the same here in a very different overall setting. It is interesting.
Impossible paths snake throughout the entirety of the realm of chaos. The maze is fluid, ever changing alongside the plans of its creator, subjecting any who would find themselves unfortunate enough to traverse it with madness, terror, and sickening hope.
Are wild.
Different passages and rooms obey different physical laws, and what is true in one place can be the opposite right around the corner.
That's nice.
At every step, the air is thick with broken dreams, and everywhere the light sparkles with fragments of shattered personality. Put simply, to enter the crystal labyrinth is to lose oneself, as not even demons are able to traverse the labyrinth safely without getting lost to an eternity inside the maze.
Really?
It is said that at the heart of the crystal labyrinth lies the impossible fortress, its structure constantly shifting, sprouting and absorbing writhing spires in a malformed display as the pink horrors that populate its halls sculpt its existence in the image of their master's plots, and as such, it is of an ever-changing nature.
Cool.
Were a mortal to find himself in the impossible fortress, he would not live long before being driven completely mad by visions of the future, past and present. Impossible and agonizing sounds, leering voices, and unreality warped in a million forms.
Is that a screenshot or structure from in a game, or is this purely, modeled and built in a game engine? Or is that a place in a game itself? Because it looks pretty cool. It looks like... No, I can't say that. No, that's not really it, but... It's pretty cool. It looks like a top-down game, something like... Not really Diablo, but... Something you could explore in some type of game like this. Looks pretty impressive.
Can drive even the most mentally strong being in a state of complete despair and hopelessness. The other Chaos Gods, in their never-ending war and desire to attack TZEENTCH, have lost too many minions just trying to get beyond the first perplexing room, and any invaders must negotiate 100 or more of such chambers just to come before the hidden library and TZEENTCH himself. Those who succumb to the warping nature of TZEENTCH's palace collapse utterly in an implosion of consciousness and form, Those who are cursed to succumb to
boy.
the chaotic nature of the impossible fortress quickly find themselves reborn as sorceress familiars, boons granted to the Deceiver's champions in the mortal realm.
Oh,
Uncountable are the beings that have suffered such terrible fates. The sheer difficulty of navigating the impossible fortress.
also all those flying discs, you know? That is also from the place and dungeon, basically. I told you in Warcraft, that is... You know, that just, yep, we are taking this. That is pretty interesting. That looks cool. Yep, that's now ours. I don't know, it's just funny to see it. That they just, yeah, man, yeah, Warhammer did that really well. Let's just, you know, put a little bit more crystal on it. Nobody will see that. That's fun
Has
to me.
made Tzeentch unassailable, and the costly loss of every minion who tried to reach the hidden library within the fortress has discouraged the other ruinous powers from further attempts. Within the hidden library lies the root of Tzeentch's very existence. Tomes inscribed with all the forbidden knowledge in the universe are housed
Nice
on its
mask,
shelves
bro.
alongside the Deceiver himself. He spends eons glimpsing inside the well of eternity, studying every facet of its existence in the hope that it will betray the secret.
For anybody knowing WoW, you know, Well of Eternity, I don't have to say more. Can you... WoW, can you please be more original? That is sad. Okay, of course, I don't think that was... You know, that was the first time that all of that stuff was ever used. We also know that a lot of stuff, you know, was taken by them as well. But it is just funny as a fan of Warcraft and, you know, after playing that for so long, you recognize a lot of stuff and think, yeah, man... Somewhere I have heard that before. Oh, that you took that again, huh, Blizzard? Why did you took that also? It is just, but yeah, it's not important. For the most part, I'm just memeing, but still, it's kind of funny.
Secrets of the past and future, so that he may use them in his own machinations. However, there is another being who is more capable of reading the tides of the well. Kairos, Fate Weaver, survived being thrown into the depths by his master.
Bird.
It was the desire of the Changer of Ways to understand all things and find the answers to the many fundamental questions of time, space, and reality.
Is that the one that can look, you know, can see the past? No, it can see the past and the future, but not the present. Was it that guy? I remember him from. I think that was Total War Warhammer 3. I think it's him.
And it is said that at the bottom of the Well of Eternity, such answers can be found.
Maybe not.
So Tzeentch himself threw the Fate Weaver into the unknown depths of the Well of Eternity.
Okay.
After uncountable years, Kairos Fate Weaver emerged again, clawing his way back, and with a remarkable
Hell
ability.
yeah.
He was forever blinded to the present, but impossibly aware
Exactly.
of the future and the past.
Yeah, it's him. I remember.
He also now
There he
had
is.
two heads. Kairos emerged from the well, able to see things even hidden to his master, and so was pronounced as Tzeentch's own oracle. Seated at the right hand
Impressive.
of Tzeentch, Kairos whispers a secret he perceives within the well. Each of his words are jealously recorded and protected by 9 times 9 Lords of Change, using quills of their own feathers and inked with the blood of Tzeentch.
Okay.
The primal god of change cares not about the scheming or plotting of his minions, for all that they know is also known to him. Each secret transcribed by a Lord of Change is made a part of Tzeentch forever, and his understanding of eternity comes ever closer. Kairos Fateweaver used to be a remarkable
That is so
Lord
intense.
of Change before being thrown into the well and becoming something else. The Lords of Change are the masters of deception and are extremely manipulative. Nothing pleases them more than to see the seeds of their plots bring fruits in the form of destruction, betrayals, alliances, deaths, and renovation.
Hello.
To be able to alter the very history is their delight and entertainment, as well as their necessity and purpose. Lords of Change, also known as Feathered Lords, are highly intelligent and powerful beings that can even deny knowledge and truths to other demons, even fellow Lords of Change. Such is their power. In all their majestic and imposing presence, the Lord of Change's most striking and dangerous features are their deep eyes. Few mortals can withstand the scrutiny of their gaze, and it is said that when a Lord of Change looks upon a mortal, he perceives not only the creature's ephemeral flesh, but also the ultimate failure or realization of its hopes and dreams.
Okay.
Even then,
that's scary.
It would be impossible to know for certain if what was presented is true or not. Although a Lord of Change would almost always prefer to use magic and trickery to further its ends, he is still a fearsome fighter that can take on a one-on-one challenge. Countless heroes are the ones that have underestimated these strange creatures, thinking their wiry frames and fluttering wings fragile. Only when their weapons shatter against the otherworldly demon's skin and his mighty talons shred armor like paper do these valiant but not so smart heroes realize the terrible depth of their mistake. It is already too late by then.
He's not the only constant in the universe change. One day all this will be dust, and even the stars will flicker and grow dim. Your life is but a tiny candle in the darkness, and your death an afterthought, shorn of meaning by its insignificance. Come, little one, and let me show you how brightly your flame can burn.
Or your body. Is.
The Changeling is capable of assuming the forms and perfectly replicating the behavior of any being save the great deceiver himself.
Not good.
There are many tales regarding how the horror has tricked the ruinous powers and mortal kingdoms into declaring war on each other, much to the delight of his master. However, the Changeling would just as soon impersonate messengers and generals before a war, as he would take on the shape of whichever foe possesses the most power and skill to decimate his enemies, once a bloody battle is raging on.
Well, that's pretty...
Chaos sorcerers wield the wild energies of entropy itself, reshaping reality to better serve their whims and those of their dark masters. Those champions of chaos who bear the ever-burning mark of TZEENTCH have a natural capacity to manipulate magic, and a prescience that enables them to alter reality's course. They seek mastery over the magical...
Man, he looks all kind of fucked up, you know? Now I see the Lovecraftian element more and more. The more time goes on, the deeper we go into it. I don't know. I really think he seems to be the most complex of the Chaos Gods. I could be wrong, and we haven't looked, into Khorne yet, but he doesn't strike me as the most complex. He seems pretty, blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne, pretty simple motto, maybe some depth, here and there, but he, especially with his title, his aspect, everything like that, seems to be the most complex Chaos God, kinda by far. At least to me, it's wild what's going on with him. It's just, it's so much information, my head is about to explode.
Arts, and they are madmen that seek to gain more and more knowledge, wisdom, and power, and in that infinite search, they fall into traps of the architect of fate. Without the patience and wisdom that the study of the raw powers of magic, a chaos sorcerer lacks due wariness and respect for the ultimate true dangers of magic. And so begins an inexorable descent into deformity and madness. Many are the paths that lead to this ultimate fate, but most often the Chaos Sorcerer seeks to expand his magical powers or harness more of the occult by simply bartering away another fraction of his soul, losing a little more and more of his humanity in the process. Before long, the aspirant feels his whole body and mind twist and alter,
That looks so crazy.
and as the gnawed remnants of his soul are finally devoured, he is plunged into the whirlpools of insanity for all eternity.
Nice.
Leaving behind nothing of the man who was, his soul nothing but a puppet for the demons that he had made the unholy pacts with.
Okay.
Such is the cruel and ultimate fate of all who dabble with the entities of the warp.
Well, there you have it. Join now.
Spellcasting fills
now.
the pink horrors of TZEENTCH with joy, and so these creatures are almost ever present along powerful sorcerers and agents of TZEENTCH, whether they are immediately visible or not. These pink creatures of the warp emit a special merriment as eldritch energy screeches from their upraised hands. These horrors are considered just pawns to be expended
freaky.
as part of a carefully wrought plan to bring the Lord of Change's plans into being.
Sure.
The same happens with the Flamers of TZEENTCH, also known as Burning Horrors. These are warped creatures that are made of chaos energy, and they can hurl bolts of fire-like projectiles into their foes. They
That's
can
a lot of
alter
teeth.
reality itself in small scale, and are deadly as they can move quickly across any battlefield.
Lots of teeth.
In addition, the cultist cells of TZEENTCH across the mortal world command untold influence from the frozen wastes of Norsca to the vaulted halls of the Empire. Its members range from advisors within the court of Karl Franz and the Elector Counts to lowly rat-catchers in the sewers of Nuln, each vying for the powers granted through mutation and the bestowment of forbidden knowledge. Without a doubt, the most influential and powerful of every chaos cult is the Purple Hand, who are driven towards their ultimate goal of one day controlling the Empire. However, the machinations of the Deceiver are shrouded to the eyes of even his most fervent followers.
Times of
There have
darkness.
been many incursions from the vile beings that inhabit the realm of chaos into the mortal world. First of them being the Great Catastrophe. Many more followed, and the world has been in a constant war against chaos since time immemorial. In the year 231 of the Imperial calendar, the famous Battle of Glen Cursed took place.
Haven't heard of that.
Demonettes and pink horrors burst forth from the caverns below Middenheim. They wreak considerable damage to the city and lay waste to nearby places before being vanquished at the Battle of Glencursed by the army of Count Rainer von Meckel. Von Meckel is left suffering terrible dreams for the rest of his life after that confrontation.
Well, that's fucked up.
Always the same, these nightmares have him striding eternally across a blasted and twisted landscape, populated by creatures much like those he had vanquished. His remaining years are spent in the care of one temple or another, as the priests work to calm his ravaged soul. 15 years to the day of his victory, von Meckel vanishes from a locked room. What his ultimate fate is, none can say with certainty.
Invited to the realm of chaos, man.
Hundreds of years later, another event which involved TZEENTCH took place. It was in the year 2520 of the Imperial calendar, and it would be known later as the Year of Woe. as mortals reckon it was in this year that Tzeentch sent Kairos Fateweaver to steal the 12 enchanted artifacts, once possessed by the companions of the legendary Gilles Le Breton. So important was this goal of Tzeentch that he dispatched the greater part of his armies to the mortal plane. So began Bretonia's year of woe, where the tombs of the companions were ransacked, nearby towns razed, and countless thousands of Bretonians, high and low-born alike, met their deaths at the tentacles of Tzeentchian demons. Castles were of no defense, for their crude stones were easily tumbled by the sorceries of pink horrors, or transmuted by the warp fires of flamers. Only at Grail shrines, where the power of the lady still waxed strong, could any shelter be found. Worse, with each artifact recovered, Fateweaver's demons grew ever more powerful. In the initial battle about Montfort and Canel, the lances and valor of the Bretonian knights cost the demonic hosts greatly.
Well,
by the time 8 artifacts had been seized, only the boldest dukes would even consider taking the field. In the 12th month, with only a single artifact outside the Fateweaver.
You know, just throw it in front of your walls and throw it out there. No, just take it. Leave us be. Just take the artifact and move on. We don't want any problems here, man. That is wild.
His clutches. Only the current king of Bretonia chanced his arm, and he lost far more battles than he won. The final battle of the Year of Woe was the Siege of Mouchillon, for it was in this city that the last artifact lay. At the height of the siege, the Bretonian armies made one last sortie against their abusers. As they did so, help arrived from the most unusual source. Nurgle had long been fond of Mouchillon, for it had been the breeding ground for many of his favourite plagues. He could not bear the thought of the city being eradicated by the minions of his hated brother Tzeentch, and he loosed his own.
Let's go. Puppy Nurgle comes to aid, man. That is a special occurrence, you know? That's nice. It's very, very nice. I like that. That's fun, man. That's fun.
Armies.
Let's go.
Unaware of the wider battle being fought, the Bretonians gave no quarter that day. They saw only an army of demons given over to fighting amongst itself, and slaughtered everything that came before their lances. Kugath Plaguefather bludgeoned Kairos Fateweaver to feathered ruin, only to find himself pierced on the points of a dozen blessed lances. With the destruction of their leaders, both demon armies vanished, doubtless to pursue the battle on more familiar territory, leaving only their battle-ravaged fallen and the very items Fateweaver had come to steal.
Aww. Lost them all.
There are many incursions of chaos demons into the world, but they would be harder to manifest if not for the countless mortal followers of the Chaos Gods that enable them to cross the warp and manifest into the mortal realms. Many are the mortals who serve the demonic overlords of chaos, from within the heat of the Empire or the noble houses of Bretonia. In the lands of men there are reveled and sick heretics who worship the Chaos Gods in secret.
Yes, yes.
Despite the efforts of the Order of Witch Hunters, their influence grows daily. It grows in secret, and many powerful and influential figures in human societies and civilizations throw their lot in with the ruinous powers, hoping to gain immortality and great power as their reward.
Surely.
In deep cellars and hidden temples, these heretics perform obscure acts to appease their dark masters. Each year they are said to be more numerous and powerful.
Well, it is what it is.
If we keep going, we will lose ourselves in an eternity of madness and despair. Voices are already whispering in our heads, and the temptations of more knowledge and power
Oh, there
are
it
now
is.
almost
I remember.
unbearable. We must stop for now exploring more about TZEENTCH, the Chaos God of Change, for if we do not, an eternity of torment awaits.
It is unstoppable. I am unstoppable.
Surely.
I see it now. The beasts that will devour the world.
Nice. Very cool ending. Oh. That Virus. Well, that was a lot to take in. I don't know. It was just wild. You know, the others were more subtle, more clear. You know, still wild and out there, but this story was just so interwoven, complex, wild. My brain was racing the whole time. I have a lot of thoughts, but it's hard to share them because right now my brain is just basically mush. That I like him. You know, I like this Chaos God really a lot, but he's not my favorite. I still, you know, I haven't seen too deep into Korn yet, but I have seen Nurgle, Slanesh. I really like him, but it is like I like half, no more than half. I like maybe 70% of his design and stuff. I like really a lot, and then there are some parts that I don't like that much, but it is his, I don't know, his followers, his realm, his stuff is not like one thing, where if you like this one thing, where like with Nurgle or Slanesh, you're all up for it. It is like multiple different aspects, very different elements taken together. Yeah, they're took and put together, very different stuff. And it is like 70% I'm super into, and 30% of it is like, no, that's not that much my kind of, you know, stuff. It's not my cup of tea, but it is still pretty good. And I would say he might be the most complex and have maybe the, and he has the more interesting stories, I guess. Not necessarily, but I would say it is easier to write a very complex, super interesting story about him than it is about a very simple character, you know? So I think he has a lot going for him. I like the, you know, the wild bird theme, the kind of more predatory birds, raven, all this kind of stuff, more dangerous. I like this kind of theme also, the Lovecraftian style, the interesting thing with knowledge, magic. It is pretty wild, it is pretty cool. It would most likely be my favorite enemy to play against in a game or something like that. Not my favorite faction to play itself, if that makes sense. It seems to me like the best antagonist, not, you know, the best my side of the story. That is pretty much what I would say for him. And yeah, like I say, huge respect. He looks amazing. Also, the video was very well made, as always. Very good voiceover, super good. I loved it. It is so clean, so well made. But that's all for now. I will think about it more. Until then, bye.